hold it in the sense of you don't know what could be coming incoming, especially because it's so close to shore. So there's that. Then, you and I talked about securing the Strait of Hormuz quite a bit because you were talking about the very mountainous terrain, which would give Iran.
Peace and love.
It's also on the
561
other
be
side.
live right now, man. Live coverage with this war, man. Yeah, man, we deep at war right now, man. They still busting, man. They still dropping bombs. They still killing people, bro. We are at war, bro. Live coverage with the war, man. Live coverage with the war, man. Listen, man. Y'all do a lot of praying, bro. Y'all do a lot of praying, bro, because it can fall on anybody's plate. Trust me, man. Do a lot of praying, dog.
M777, this is what we call the beginning of an artillery raid. You take this thing off a ship, you land it where you want it to go.
So then you have
ashore,
artillery capability.
And then you've got counterfire capability within minutes. Also within that capability, these things called Amtraks, incredibly capable. They swim, as you can see, and
have nobody even shooting at us.
Well, unfortunately, that does not seem to be the case. An Air Force F-35 stealth fighter today was hit, two sources tell us, by what's believed to be Iranian fire. The plane landed safely at an American base in the region. The pilot, according to Central Command, is in stable condition. Now, this morning, the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, said Iran's air defense had been, quote, flattened. He also had this message to the rest of the world.
The world, the Middle East, our ungrateful allies in Europe, even segments of our own press should be saying one thing to President Trump. Thank you. Thank you for the courage to stop this terror state from holding the world hostage with missiles while building or attempting to build a nuclear bomb. Thank you for doing the work of the free world.
Well, he also declined when asked to set a time frame for the end of the war, and if his words there sounded less than diplomatic, listen to what the president said a short time later with Japan's prime minister sitting right next to him.
Why didn't you tell U.S. allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran? So we are very confused about we Japanese
Well,
citizens.
one thing, you don't want to signal too much, you know? When we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right? You know, he's asking me, do you believe in surprise? I think much more so than us.
Starting off tonight with Jeremy Diamond in Tel Aviv. So just last night, Jeremy, we were talking about what you called Israel's assassination spree in Iran. Today, you were able to ask Prime Minister Netanyahu about it. What did he say?
Yeah, that's right, Anderson. The Israeli prime minister holding the first ever in-person news conference during the course of the war, and he began it by touting the successes that Israel and the United States, he says, have had in Iran, including those targeted assassinations that we have seen Israel carry out. And I asked him that very question about whether or not this may be counterproductive, as some experts have suggested. What do you say to those who say that killing those individuals is in fact empowering the hardliners in Iran? And are you confident that your strategy will still lead to regime change?
I think the authority and the hold that Khamenei has had is not going to be translated to anyone, not to Mujtaba if he's there, and not to anyone else. But I think this is part of the effort to crack the regime. It's not going to happen in one day. We're 20 days into
Are you seeing
this
cracks?
war. Yes, we're seeing cracks. We're seeing cracks, and we're trying to propagate them as fast as we can. Not only in the top command, we're seeing cracks in the field.
Jeremy Diamond in Israel for us tonight. Jeremy,
Cracks, the Israeli
go ahead.
Sorry, Anders. I was going to say, among those cracks, the Israeli prime minister also said that there was fear and trepidation in Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, who are in charge of firing those ballistic missiles. But important to note that those missiles are still being fired. The Israeli prime minister also said that he had committed to President Trump not to continue targeting those oil and natural gas facilities after the escalation that we saw over the course of the last 24 hours. That also led me to ask him whether or not he would end this war should President Trump wake up one day, see oil prices are too high, and decide it's time to end this campaign. On that point, the prime minister said that the United States is the leader. He described himself as the ally, but he would not say whether Israel would go it alone in the event the U.S. decided to end its military campaign in Iran. Anderson?
Interesting. We reported the president suggesting that the Pentagon's $200 billion request for the Iran war is his words, small price to pay. What's still very unclear is how long the president may be willing to pay it for. Some experts in the region have suggested that Iran has anticipated and is prepared to wage a longer conflict than the president may have initially calculated. One of those experts is Vali Nasser, professor of the School of Advanced International Studies at Johns Hopkins University. He joins us now. Professor, appreciate you being here. You've put forward a really interesting notion about this war. You say that because the new regime, such as it is, isn't beholden to the supreme leader, to the Revolutionary Guard commanders who, like him, have been assassinated, that the world may now see what you call a more strident and unbending Iran emerge. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yes, the generation that is being eliminated by the Israel's decapitation campaign was radical, was anti-Western, was antagonistic towards the United States, but at the same time also often followed a certain degree of prudence. For instance, when the US bombed Iran's nuclear sites, the previous supreme leader decided to react in a symbolic manner. And he wasn't always going for the most aggressive approach. The generation that's now coming to the top is of the belief that you not only go for an eye for an eye, but you go for two eyes for one eye. That the only way for Iran to survive and to dissuade the United States from escalating further or from mowing the lawn against Iran every 6 months is to raise the cost on the United States in a way in which the previous generation was not willing to do.
You've said that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the current supreme leader, who's now been in his, who's the son of the former supreme leader, that he would not have ascended to that position if his father had his choice, if his father, was choosing a successor.
Yes, his father was of two minds as to whether it was a good idea to create a monarchy, given that the Islamic Revolution had overthrown a monarchy and was opposed to monarchy. And had apparently even instructed the Council of Experts not to consider his son. And had the war not happened, the main question in Iran before the war was how to deal with the aftermath of the massive protest that happened in January and the
As the war in Iran is sparking fears of a full-blown energy crisis, there's brand new reporting from the New York Times about a potential divide between the United States and Israel concerning the ultimate goals of this war that has other nations fearing a potential disaster. The veteran reporter behind that piece is going to join me live in just a few moments with that breaking news. And this comes tonight as more U.S. forces are headed to the Middle East. With now here in Washington, the Trump administration is reportedly preparing to ask for $200 billion from Congress for the war. $200 billion, a number that the president and the Secretary of Defense described this way.
Peace and love, 561. We live right now, man. Just covering this war, man. Live feed on the war, man. You feel me? Live feed on the war, man. Think this shit ain't important if you want to. Think it ain't important. Think it ain't important. Keep worrying about that motherfucking bullshit, what you got going on around your house and shit. Talking about goddamn the bitch that ate all the bread or ain't no gas in my car. You need to be paying attention to this damn war. Y'all need to be paying attention to the war, bro. Everybody worry about all this miscellaneous shit, bro. Stop crying about that bullshit. Pay attention to what's going on, man. We are at war, bro. We have a president in the chair that's trying to start something that can affect us for the rest of our lives, bro. It can affect our livelihood. Straight up, man. Y'all better pay attention to what's fuck going on, bro. We have a president in this chair that's saying that he could do what the fuck he want to do. It ain't got nothing to do with no religion. This president is trying to scramble this bitch up, boy, like scrambled eggs, boy. And the world sit back playing and they ain't understanding what's really going on. We are at war.
What you're seeing here. Fireballs and black smoke pouring out of the world's largest gas field after an attack by Israeli forces on Iran's South Pars natural gas field. The field is partially owned by Qatar, a major U.S. ally that houses U.S. forces, and it prompted Iran to target other major energy facilities in other Gulf nations. Now, Israeli officials told CNN initially that the strike was coordinated with the United States. A U.S. official told CNN that the United States was at least aware of the strike, but both President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu denied those reports tonight.
Fact number one, Israel acted alone against the Slawia gas compound. Fact number two, President Trump asked us to hold off on future attacks, and we're holding it.
Yeah, I did. I told him don't do that, and he won't do that. We didn't discuss. We do. We're independent. We get along great. It's coordinated, but on occasion he'll do something, and if I don't like it, and so we're not doing that anymore.
The reason this is such a big deal is because attacks on energy sources mark a pretty big escalation that even, as you can hear from the president and his aides, they are still trying to do more to bring down oil prices. We heard from the Treasury Secretary suggesting potentially lifting sanctions on Iranian oil to boost supply, meaning Iran would get the money from any of those sales, even as the United States tonight is waging a war against Iran. At home, we've seen why the administration is taking these efforts. The national gas price average tonight stands at $3.88. That's up 95 cents in just the last month. One thing that could help, of course, would be getting ships moving again through the Strait of Hormuz, that narrow choke point where several oil tankers have been attacked during this war. And today, several European nations and Japan announced that they are ready to help with those efforts. Today,
The war with Iran is moving further up the escalation ladder, and there's no clear off-ramp in sight as oil infrastructure comes under attack across the Middle East. Now today, an Iranian missile struck a major refinery in northern Israel. It follows Israel's strike last night on Iran's facilities at the world's largest liquid natural gas reserve, South Pars. Now that act triggered Iran to retaliate, hitting a critical gas hub in Qatar. Oil and gas prices are now skyrocketing in the aftermath. And what the White House called a temporary blip now has the potential to spiral into an all-out global energy crisis. President Trump yesterday said that he knew nothing about the South Pars strike. However, an Israeli source tells CNN that Israel coordinated with the U.S. to carry it out, and an American source says that the U.S. was aware. So here is what Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu and President Trump are saying about it publicly.
Fact number one, Israel acted alone against the Slouia gas compound. Fact number two, President Trump asked us to hold off on future attacks, and we're holding it.
You talked to Prime Minister Netanyahu about attacking the oil and gas fields.
Yeah, I did. I told him don't do that, and he won't do that. We didn't discuss. We do. We're independent, we get along great. It's coordinated, but on occasion.
Peace and love, 561. We live right now, man. We are at war. We are at war, man. Y'all better wake up, man. Wake up. Stop worrying about all that crazy shit and pay attention to what's to come. Pay attention to the backlash. Pay attention to everything what's going on, bro. Got to wake up, bro. Get to the real time. Get to the real time living, man. We are at war. This is not a joke. You have to be intellectually entertained to obtain this knowledge and be grateful to be a part of a time where you can witness a war. You know what I'm saying? Because this is traditional for the world that we live in, bro. It be wars, bro. It be wars, man. You know what I'm saying? It's all for educational purposes. Trust me. You live and you learn. You understand the do's and the don'ts of the real world, man. And then you understand how it really run. Then you understand who run this motherfucker for real. This war is about Israel. Israel. This is an Israel war, bro. But America has got their hands all in it. So understand what's going on, man. This is an Israel war. But it's Peace and Love 561. We live right now, man. We are at war.